Welcome to the flip side of the moon.
No, it's not sweat. No, it's not sweat.
Hey, Luca, can you clarify, is it increasing or not increasing?
It's hard to tell, but it feels like a lot of water. Oh, I see, yeah.
On July 16, 2013, 67 minutes into a spacewalk, NASA Mission Control terminated the EVA-23. Luca Parmitano and his spacewalk partner, Chris Cassidy, were instructed to make their way back to the spacecraft after Parmitano reported.
I feel a lot of water on the back of my head, but I don't.
Not to mention, he was blinded. Water got into his eyes, and at the same time, the International Space Station entered orbital night, making it difficult to go back inside. And today, I want to talk about the EVA 23 incident, the spacewalk that nearly drowned an astronaut. Expedition 36 began on May 13, 2013, a long duration mission to the International Space Station to take advantage of the space station's unique microgravity environment and expand the scope of research. Expedition 36 had a total of 5 planned spacewalks, including 2 by Cassidy and Parmitano. On July 9, 2013, they suited up for their first scheduled spacewalk, EVA-22. The spacewalk was planned for 6.5 hours, but the duo proceeded faster than planned. They even had the time for extra get-ahead task. About a week later, on July 16, 2013, preparation and eventual second spacewalk, EVA-23, started 13 minutes early. Back home on Earth, Mission Control at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston were monitoring the operation. Everything was going as normal outside the space station, and they set off in different directions to begin their task. After 38 minutes, Parmitano informed ground control that his suit's carbon dioxide or CO2 sensor had failed.
CO2 sensor bad.
Copy, Luca.
It measured 48.6.
Copy that, Luca. I'm with you on page 22, and Shane will join us.
Okay, so I'm reading that periodical monitor physical condition, and if I notice that I'm feeling conditioned by the CO2, then I will open the helmet purge and eventually terminate EVA, otherwise continue EVA.
Ground control got back to him, simply stating that this didn't present any concern. He can continue his cable routing task as normal. But obviously, the situation took a turn. Parmitano reported feeling water inside his suit's helmet, on the back of his head. But he believed that the 1 liter bag of drinking water he was carrying was the reason of the leak. And at this part, I assume personally, that he thought it was the drinking bag because of what Mission Control told him 6 minutes earlier. It's like he reported that he felt a lot of water on the back of his head, and Mission Control pretty much said, well, I think it's fine. 48 minutes in, Mission Control asked him a status on the water intrusion.
Good questions. It feels the same. It's not increasing nor more. I still feel it, and I cannot tell you the source. My only guess is that it came out of my bag.
By that time, Parmitano was performing a series of tests on the cable routing task. Cassidy linked up to provide assistance. Engineers did not consider the sensor failure an issue because it had failed on previous spacewalk. So engineers attributed those earlier failures, always occurring near the end of 6-hour spacewalks, to moisture from either sweat or condensation. However, a failure this early in the spacewalk should have alerted controllers to a more serious problem. This is what the writer of the article actually, I think this is their opinion. In a phenomenon called normalization of defiance, everyone accepted the sensor failure as normal based on previous experience, without questioning the timing of the failure or its possible cause. But one of the craziest part is that the previous experience they were referring to happened just a week prior, and it happened to Parmitano. The, the previous experience was what Parmitano experienced on EVA-23 just a few days after. I think it was about 4 or 5 days before. Later in the story, Parmitano said that he felt about the same amount of water he felt at the end of EVA-22. Again, this means that there was already a history. Parmitano's spacesuit getting water, a lot of water. I don't care the quantity. If it says there's a lot of water, if you're in a suit, if you feel a lot of water, no matter the quantity, it's a problem. But they literally told him to disregard what the sensor were signaling, even though this was a repeated incident, which again, it's insane to me. I digress. Minute 54, Parmitano reported without prompting, literally without them asking, no check. It feels like a lot of water. Cassidy could visually confirm this.
It's hard to tell, but it feels like a lot of water.
Oh, I see, yeah. I see it now, wiggling.
And instructed him to drink the remaining of the water to eliminate any possible culprit. But the amount of water increased after drinking the bag dry. Imagine that. You have a lot of water, you think it's one thing that contains water, you drink, you empty that thing, that container that has water, and instead of the water to actually reduce, it increases, right? Minute 62, Parmitano believed the amount of water was increasing to the point of getting inside the communication cap, even asking Cassidy for a radio check. Upon hearing that, at least, Mission Control terminated the spacewalk 23 minutes after the first report of water in the helmet and instructed them to head back. Water had obscured Parmitano's vision and asked Cassidy for help to find his way back. But because the tether anchored them back to their airlock, each astronaut had to retrace the steps they took at the beginning, so Cassidy was unable to help. Parmitano, as he turned his body to return to the airlock, water shifted from the back of his head to his face, covering eyes, ears, and nose. On top of that, at that precise moment, the space station entered orbital night. The ISS doesn't rotate around its axis like the Earth does. Instead, it orbits the Earth every 90 minutes. Therefore, it enters an orbital night for 45 minutes when it sits behind the Earth's shadows. Blinded by these events, he used his tether to feel his way back to the airlock, and the water inside the communication cap resulted in intermittent contact with Cassidy and Mission Control, which didn't help in expressing the gravity of the situation.
Good question. Yeah, you can look at contact.
I hear you weak but readable, Luca. Can you tell me
I can barely read you.
Minute 72, a whole 10 minutes after he was instructed to head back, Parmitano finally reached the airlock.
I'm opening the airlock cover. And I'm waiting
Copy,
for
thermal
Chris to
cover
go in.
open.
Why don't we just... I recommend, Shane, that we do... I will go in as the last guy, and we just get Luca in there now. No sense in having him wait.
That's correct. We want Luca to hop in.
New data.
Yeah, we want Luca to hop in now. Do not connect your SCU, and Chris, you will come in second and do the hatch ops.
That sounds great. You copy that, Luca? Head on in.
Okay, I'm in.
Roger that.
Well, getting inside of the space station was a positive. That didn't mean that Parmitano was safe. 3 minutes later, from inside the equipment lock section of the airlock, NASA astronaut Karen Nyberg began repressurizing the crew lock, a process that cannot be done too quickly or the two spacewalkers would not be able to keep their eardrums from bursting from the rapid pressure change. So this process actually takes time. So Parmitano is still there, full of water inside his helmet that now is all over his face, trying to breathe with his mouth. Parmitano also couldn't clear his ears during to the repressurization, since the device normally used to plug his nose had become wet and detached from the visor. Russian cosmonaut Fyodor Yurkinkin opened the hatch, and he, Nyberg, and cosmonaut Pavel Vinogradov pulled Palmitano into the equipment lock. Using an expedited procedure, 100 minutes after the start of the spacewalk and 56 minutes after the first report of water, they removed his helmet and began to towel him off, with drops of water escaping from the helmet as they stowed it for later inspection and analysis. NASA established a Mishap Investigation Board, or MIB, on July 22nd, 2013, which found three causes that led to the mishap. First, a buildup of inorganic material caused blockage of the drum holes in the suit's fan pump separator, resulting in water spilling from the cooling loop into the ventilation loop and ultimately into the helmet. Second, the NASA team lacked the knowledge of this particular failure mode. And third, the team misdiagnosed the failure when it first occurred during the EVA-22. This happened already. Why is it that you guys actually, I'm sorry, I'm taking this very personal, but it happened the first time. Why you did let it happen a second time? But I digress. The report stated that both the ground team and the astronauts responded appropriately given the information available to them. All right, fair. Eventually, the MIB identified 5 root causes that contributed to the failure we pretty much covered in this video. But there's another crazy part, in my opinion, how poorly the mission control handled this situation. So, again, the article says Parmitano pondered the liquid cooling and ventilation garment, or LCVG, worn inside the spacesuit, with tubes of water running through it to cool the astronauts during spacewalks, as a possible source of the water. But Mission Control considered that a low likelihood. What do you mean, a low likelihood? Like I know Mission Control doesn't build these suits, but even if you were a company, Mission Control was the company that built the spacesuit for some reason. Let's give it that, okay? Hypothetical. Even in that scenario, if somebody says that maybe there's this situation, you couldn't just shut it down and say that it's a low likelihood, because it's a liquid cooling and ventilation garment, which also contains liquid. What other thing can actually contains water that is inside the suit? So it isn't sweat, it isn't pee, and it's definitely not the pouch that contains drinking water that the astronaut pretty much emptied dry. Even if it's not that garment, we need to eliminate everything that can possibly carry water. Period. Like, logically, if there's a leak of liquid, you have to consider anything that carries said liquid, be it your house, your car, your pants, your rocket. Anything is a possibility. And the fact that the mission control engineers didn't take more time to consider it. I know this story happened 2013 and they've changed many things since then, but that is just crazy. So, but again, listen, I commend how calmly Cassidy and Parmitano dealt with this situation, really. Their background in the US Navy SEALs and the Italian Air Force certainly showed in the handling of this situation. I'd be screaming. You hear me? I'd be going mad. For me personally, if I'm going deep underwater or high up in space, and I'm for sure listening to the warnings of whatever life support system I got on. Whatever I got on me, and that device is telling me, hey, listen, I'm your life support system, and I'm telling you, check your engine. I'd rather you tell me, oh, nothing to be concerned. You can proceed while I'm next to you eating chips. I want to make sure that where you are making that decision that everything is fine, I'm next to you. Because I don't want nothing to not be fine and I'm up in space or down in the ocean. In the meantime, I thank you very much for watching and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.